Happy Memorial Day, all of our friends here from the Fans First Sports Network. My name is Bryan Anthony Davis of the Steel Curtain Network. Off this week, as we are in our summer rotation, will be Jess Place from Mile High Broncos. It will be Aidan Reed, who is from Broad Street LinkedIn, representing the Philadelphia Eagles on FFSN. And from Foxborough Frenzy, it is Nick Hogan, who is not here this week. We are going to do a rotation where all of us are going to get an opportunity to work together, and then we are going to have three of us on every single week in the NFL season when it gets started in September. This is something that I'm very excited about today because I get a chance to work again with my good friend David Stefano from Vikings First and Skol. And David has been on this show maybe one or two times, but he is probably one of the biggest fans of the show. And now I tried to get him on for the inaugural season, and he was very busy, but I was able to sweeten the pot this year and get Dave in here, which just, he knew me a second year. So I said, Dave, please. And we got him on. Dave, what's going on?
Hey, buddy. And my arm still hurts from when you twisted it. Hey, it is Memorial Day weekend, and I hope everybody enjoys it and stays safe, because those vets that
absolutely
give the ultimate price for it want you to have a good time and, have a great time, but to please stay safe so you can survive till at least Tuesday.
And that is what this entire holiday is about. It is not just celebrating the vets, to me, who made that ultimate sacrifice. It's celebrating those civil service people, like the police officers, like the firefighters as well, that lost their lives trying to defend others as well. So thank you very much for everybody. I have a very good group of friends and family that they are Gold Star family members. And the Gold Star, when you see that Gold Star on a license plate or know what a Gold Star family is, that's somebody that lost their life in the line of duty. And so that's something very, very special. And I have one in particular, Ashley White from Alliance, Ohio. So somebody I never met, but great friends with her family. So everything that those people did for us, we are the land of the free because of the brave. So thank you. Dave, let's do it. Let's talk about the NFL this week. And we are talking about, usually this time of year, we're getting ready to start mini camps, which we are. Some got started last week and some are this week. And I think the best way to talk about mini camps is no news is good news, right?
Well, yeah, you don't want to see any of your players end up on a police blotter somewhere, falling asleep on I-10 off ramp to LAX or things like that. No, you don't want to see anything like that. But at least for a lot of Vikings fans, and ours starts the 27th on Tuesday, they're going to be anxious to hear reports on how each player is doing, how they're fitting in. Our beat writers are excellent at counting the reps and, how accurate were the passes and all that sort of stuff. What defenders, got pass blocks and who intercepted who and blah, blah, blah. And it's a time to build excitement for most fan bases that track it closely. And for those that don't track it closely, it is the one more step towards the season that they can check off their roster. They can go at the end of the day and catch any highlights type deal. But it's that process of building excitement on the season, which I absolutely love. And I think it's great. I can't wait till Tuesday when ours starts.
Now, I agree with you on that. But when I say no news is good news, I'm talking more, Dave, about injuries. Because,
bad.
Most of the things that are going to come out of minicamp for me is the bad. And I take players' first reps, especially those coming out of college, with a grain of salt. because I have heard so many reports of how bad this guy looked on the first day of minicamp. And we're hearing it out of Jacksonville right now. We're hearing that Travis Hunter was having trouble with his routes. Travis Hunter is an amazing football player. And so I don't think there's a reason to be overly worried about Travis Hunter just yet. Let him slide in. Let him have an opportunity to learn the culture of the team. And I think that's important about rookie minicamp. But when those vets get in, you need to learn the culture even more so you're ready in time for training camp. And this is my favorite part about minicamp. It's watching the coaches on one knee with individual players in their particular position group, doing the actual coaching and figuring out who that person is and how they need to be taught. And I think that's the biggest thing that comes out of minicamp for me.
Oh, it is. And people should learn or realize that because we're having day one of minicamp with the vets and the rookies are all together in once, this is the starting point, especially when it comes to rookies. They're just getting to know each other, and it's cool. It's part of the CBA where there's not a whole lot going on, and that'll slowly crank up as the offseason goes on. But you're looking at it as a base. You mentioned Hunter having problems with his routes. There could be quarterbacks with their footwork or their arm position or things like that, things that actually can be coached up. You see at the beginning of the spring where they're at. And then let's see if there's progress over the summer and into training camp and into we get to the end of August. How are they looking? What do you expect at that point? But for now, the opening week you should just be happy to see everybody out there and healthy, staying healthy, or getting healthy if they were injured late last year. I'm thinking of Stefan Diggs from the Patriots. You know, he's recovering from the knee injury. Will he be ready to go in the fall, or does he have to wait halfway into the season? But it's the progress that I'm looking for. And this first week is just a base. That's all it is. But it's exciting to see your guys in shorts and T-shirts and helmets.
Absolutely. So, Dave, a lot of other things happened this week, and it happened more in boardrooms or meeting rooms, and that's with the NFL meetings going on, and we've got a whole lot to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
It was at the Omni, and was that in Atlanta?
No,
where's the Omni at?
It's in Eagan, Minnesota.
I don't know, Dave.
Vikings complex.
There's an Omni in Atlanta, though, isn't there?
Oh yeah, I'm sure there's Omnis quite a few places, but yes. Okay. But it's the Omni Hotel in Minnesota. It's the second or third year in a row they've had it there. And they seem to like it because of all the amenities and everything that goes on there. But the owners got together, and the head of the NFL, Roger Goodell, and his crew got together, and they discussed rule changes.
One owner that was missing from that and passed away this week, we do need to go ahead and bring that up. Jim Irsay passed away, and Jim Irsay was, I can safely say it, legendary owner of the originally they were the Baltimore Colts when his father, Bob Irsay, was the owner there. I live in Maryland, so his father was very controversial. And if you ever get a chance to watch the very first 30 for 30 was called The Band Played On, about the Baltimore Colts band that continued. It's really good. If you like 30 for 30, it's a really good episode to realize everything about that. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about Irsay and what Jim Irsay did with Indianapolis Colts since his father passed away. He was a phenomenal owner in this league, sometimes controversial as well, but he will be sadly missed in the league, Dave.
And I feel sorry for the fans of Indianapolis that grew up with him and the great teams and the Super Bowls he helped bring there and building U.S. or the oil stadium and
Lucas Oil.
Lucas Oil. Thank you. And I knew there was a U.S. in there somewhere. And but it's a shame to see him go because he went relatively young,
65. And he had a long time. He had a spate of health issues as of late, and he was remembered with a moment of silence at the Indy 500, which I thought was a very classy move. So I was glad to hear that. The new controlling owner of the Indianapolis Colts now is expected to be his oldest of 3 daughters, Carly Ursay Gordon. So we will see how that goes going forward, and we wish Carly and her family the best of luck in Indianapolis. I like that organization. That's an organization that I always watch with interest.
I do too. It's a class organization.
Let's talk about another who I consider a class organization, but they got Hard Knocks, and I want to know when this changed. The Buffalo Bills are now the latest Hard Knocks training camp team. And now there's different iterations of Hard Knocks now. The Steelers never wanted to be on Hard Knocks, so they ninja'd it. So the Steelers would be on with the AFC North last year. So all 4 teams were on, and as a fan, I loved it. I thought it was incredible to watch. It's really cool. But the rule used to be, Dave, that you had to be a non-playoff team 2 years in a row to get the invite. What do you think happened here?
And without a new coach, I don't know. Maybe they volunteered because I think there's enough teams saying no that it could be causing a problem. But who knows? Hey, the Vikings have never been on Hard Knocks. Now, I don't think they were going to get selected this year because we're coming out on a Netflix special here in July where they're covering last season. But you'd have to talk to the NFL folks in New York. Somebody has to know the formula, and it's one of those super secret formulas, I guess, as to who gets to go. But maybe some owners want the attention. Buffalo could want it because they're building the new stadium, and maybe that's going to be tied into it to get fans all pumped up because the new stadium's under construction. Who knows what the reason is why they got chosen, but I thought it was odd too because they were in the playoffs last season.
Yeah, and I can't remember the last season they weren't in the playoffs, Dave.
Yeah, it's been a while.
I really can't. I would say like 17 or 18 or something like that. It's been a long time. I know they were 19, 20. Yeah, they've been in. They've had a big string, and they're looking to finally break that really tough go that they've had. So
they got to beat Kansas City. That's the problem. Is beating Kansas City in January. If they can do that, they'll go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they have been hard luck, and I'd like to see that team, but there's a lot of questions about the receivers there and what they have and what Josh Allen has to work with. The the secondary was a team that was really picked over, but got them back last year. So there were a lot of questions last year's thinking that this team was on their way down, but they've got to be a favorite. But there's a lot of AFC favorites. The Kansas City Chiefs will remain. The Baltimore Ravens, I got to tell you, as a Steelers fan, I have a lot of respect for them and a lot of hatred as well. But I know how they're built, and I think they're very tough. And I never count them out because the minute you count them out, they're going 14-2, or actually 15-2, or something like that. But it's going to be really interesting to see Buffalo Bills. Are you a Hard Knocks watcher?
No.
I
I've seen clips of it, but I'm not a serious watcher. Vikings have never been on it, so I've never really gotten into it.
I really think it's fantastic. I really do. I love the inside look, and it's only a distraction if you make it a distraction. They do a great job of trying to be incognito there, and
they're getting better and better at that. And NFL Films, period. Whoever's producing it, Manning Film, Netflix, whoever.
If you can go ahead and do it, it is NFL Films with HBO. But if you can go ahead and do it and not tick off Mike Tomlin, because Mike Tomlin doesn't like any distraction. And now they did go in the tank, but there were it wasn't because of the HBO cameras that they went in the tank. It was because everything came to roost last year. So if anybody blames it on that, I'm going to disagree with them. Did we already take a break yet, Dave?
We have not, and we got to pay our sponsors.
Yeah, I was thinking we were going to do it early, and then I start talking. So let's go ahead and take a break. We will be back right after this. Stick around. It's the Fans First Football Show on the Fans First Sports Network.
Watch me go. Never slow. Make 'em whoa. Watch me go. Ready, set, go.
We are back. It's the Fans First Football Show. No Jess this week, no Hogan this week, no Aidan Reed this week, but we do have our brand new cast member, Dave Stefano from Vikings First and Skol. We had to get another NFC guy in here. It was very important. We were ganging up on, even though they were the Super Bowl champions, we were ganging up on Aidan Reed and the Philadelphia Eagles. So we had to get some more NFC in here. And it's really good. It also gives us an opportunity to watch when our teams are in Sunday Night Football throughout the season. And you will have three of us every single week talking about NFL football, talking about the day's action. And we also have something special. We had a fella on here a couple weeks ago, actually right before free agency started. We had a high school student that we brought in and talking about his favorites as far as who would be going to different teams. And the kid did so much preparation. Do you remember that episode?
I sure do. He did well.
15 years old, and he is a sophomore. He's going into his sophomore year. And he has great aspirations, and he's going to be our Thursday night guy. So cool. we're going to go ahead and have him prepare something every week to go ahead, kick off our show, and talk about the Thursday night game. Do a 2-minute clip. So we're going to have a gentleman named Malachi Krausak in here too, and it's going to be we're growing the Fans First Football Show, and I'm really proud of it, and given a young buck an opportunity here too. And no, he prepares more than I do for this show, Dave.
I'm not going to say nothing.
I was waiting for you to say everybody prepares more than you do, Brian. I resemble that remark. Let's go ahead and talk about some other things. Not a lot of stuff going on in the NFL, but if you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, it's the continuing saga of when's Aaron Rodgers coming to town? Is Aaron Rodgers coming to town? What's up with that? Why don't you just move on? Whatever. You have a lot of people that are like me thinking that it's inevitable. You have a lot of people that are thinking that there's a handshake deal there and there's an agreement. There were rumors that he was in town on Friday. He was not, but he was doing a question and answer session, Dave. I don't know if you had a chance to catch this, but it was very interesting. Somebody asked him if he would ever play for the Chicago Bears. And he chuckled a little bit. And his answer was very interesting. He said, no, but there's a team that has a road trip coming up this fall. I'm just saying. And the Pittsburgh Steelers play in Chicago. They play there every 8 years. Have not won there since 1995. And that was the only time in Pittsburgh Steeler history that they beat the Chicago Bears in Chicago. Now, yeah, they only have one win, and that was Neil O'Donnell in the 1995 Super Bowl season. They have never. Now, I'm not saying they haven't won in Chicago when it was against the Chicago Cardinals, but I doubt it because the Steelers were really bad way back in those days. You would think they would have won a few more times in Soldier Field, but they have not. So there's a possibility, but when you hear that, do you just say, oh, yeah, he's going?
Well, it sure sounds like that, unless he still has hopes coming to Minnesota, which for all people listening, it's not going to happen. But I can tell you for a fact, playing in Chicago can be a house of horrors for the visiting team. I know it has been for the Vikings over the years, but we seem to have kicked that bucket. We've won the last 5 out of 6 there. But it can be an absolute miserable trip anytime you go. And whether it was, back in the day, whether you want to go all the way back to Sweetness or go back to the 85 Bears or go, skip forward to Devin Hester running back punt after punt after punt. It is always miserable, whether it's the wind that comes over the top of the what I call the UFO that landed in Soldier Field, comes over the top of the stadium from the lake. It just is wild. And the turf can get wonky and wet and gushy, and it could be a downpour where you can't see anything. It's just a strange place to play for any visiting team.
They've made a lot of moves this year, those Chicago Bears.
They have.
So my question to you, do you think they're still pretenders or do you think they're actual contenders? Because that's got to be the toughest. That right now, to me, that's the best division in football.
Well, I don't disagree with that one little bit. It is the best division in NFL football, right, as it stands right now. On paper, they've improved. But they've won the offseason the last 3 years running. They've got to prove it to say, yes, indeed they have. On paper, they have. They improved their offensive line tremendously. They brought in Thule. They got the center from the Falcons, Dahlman. There's a couple other new players on their offensive line, which was in dire need of some revamping. They brought in some other players. They got some great set of wide receivers. They've got a young, capable quarterback. They've had so much dysfunction in the front office and in the coaching staff as of years of late, especially with Eberflus and crew, that they've never gotten over that hump. Now, will Ben Johnson take them over that hump? He's definitely got the bona fides when it comes to the offensive side and being a great offensive coordinator. But as we all know, not every coordinator that steps up to be a head coach actually becomes a good head coach. There's a lot more involved in head coaching than just calling X's and O's. It's, hey, yes, you got to, square away approved travel plans and what cleats guys are wearing and all the other minutia that goes along with being a head coach. And we don't know. So they've got to show me. On paper, yes, they've improved. But show me on the field.
You mentioned that offensive line. especially bringing in a guy like Joe Thuney. Now he was an all pro last year, and
Yes,
he was a fantastic player for the Chiefs. He comes over to Chicago in a trade, and he could be a front runner for a new award, and I think it's about time. Now, Hogan always talks about on the show, Nick Hogan loves to talk about his fat guys. He loves his offensive linemen. And
I call
now,
them my big round bellies. Yes.
okay, they I don't call them anything because they'll kick my butt, but
I was one, so it's not a big deal.
So is my other Dave that I do work with. Dave Schofield was a big offensive lineman too. My Dave S's that I hang out with are offensive linemen. So, and offensive linemen are great to have on these shows because they kind of could break down the trenches and what's really happening in the game more than a guy who was a quarterback or wide receiver, as far as I'm concerned. Protector of the year. It's about time that they go ahead and recognize these big guys.
Oh, I think it's well overdue. You've got a bunch of different awards that come out at the end of the season, as we all know. Coach of the year, rookie of the year, offense, defense, the whole works. But there is no, or has been no, corresponding lineman of the year, and this is going to be for the offensive side. Now you can have defense, you can have defensive guys who actually win the player of the year if they're good enough, and there's been a few of those on the defensive side that have done there, but there's never been an offensive lineman. They're not going to win offensive player of the year, but what they do is so important to the team. It should be recognized. It is in college. They recognize the best center, the best guard, the best tackle, everything. And why not in the NFL? And I think it's a great first step in doing that. And it's not just going to be who, the question is, well, who decides? And it's not going to be just PFF. However you feel about PFF, whether you like their grading system or dislike their grading system, they're not involved. It's going to be based on retired offensive linemen that are on this committee are going to be looking at these people and saying, hey, Joe Thuney stepped up and he made the biggest difference for the Chicago Bears to win the division in 2025. Or however it goes, that's the way it's going to go about and happen. And I can't wait for it. It's a good thing. And now, do I think Joe Thuney is going to do it and the Chicago Bears are going to win the division in 2025? Heck no. But Joe Thuney could win. It's feasible. He's an all-pro. He's one of about 10 guys that are possible. Add in an extra 5 more that could step up, maybe like my own left tackle, Christian Darrisaw. And it is going to be something to watch for those of us that love the big round bellies. Let's watch for it all season. I'm going to be interested in tracking the whole NFL.
As Steeler fans, we always talk about that draft because Darrisaw was the guy that was going to be drafted to Pittsburgh. And instead, they brought in Najee Harris, who did a good job here. For 1,000-yard seasons, he was. I don't know if he was in the right system for him. I think he is actually going to thrive if he's given the opportunity in Los Angeles with the Chargers, especially with a guy that absolutely cherishes the running game like Jim Harbaugh. But we always talk about what would have been if Darrisaw was the guy. So that would have been something amazing. So I root for a guy like Christian Darrisaw. For me, I love this award. I would have probably done it a little different, Dave. To be honest with you, I like how, and you mentioned PFF. I like how PFF does like a line of the year.
Mm-hmm.
I would have liked to have seen an entire unit recognized.
And I agree with you.
But this is, like you said, great first step. And one thing you mentioned about all the awards, because the awards we're getting more awards. They have an assistant coach of the year, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's new in the last couple of years. I'm the guy that thinks there should be an assistant coach wing in the Hall of Fame.
There are some good, especially coordinators, that deserve to be in there for coordinating.
Yep. Norv Turner.
Outstanding offensive coordinator. Sucked as a head coach, but outstanding coordinator.
Wade Phillips.
Mm-hmm. There's another one.
Dick LeBeau.
I was about to say, you have one of the most famous ones.
And now Dick LeBeau is in the Hall of Fame, but that was as a Detroit Lion player.
And what he did as a coach, I believe.
He was both. Well, if you look at everything, he's basically in as a Detroit Lion. So I don't think I'd like to look into that, but I would think his placard just shows him as a player.
Okay.
But not a good head coach for the Cincinnati Bengals. He was terrible. But he was in Pittsburgh, came back to Pittsburgh, and my gosh, just legendary. They called him Coach Dad. And I would love to see, seriously, I would love to see guys like that make the Hall of Fame too. I'm even a guy that, now you'll laugh at me. You'll say, Brian, you're going too far. I'd like to see certain backup quarterbacks in the Hall of Fame for being reliable backups. But that gets a lot tougher. But Charlie Batch, I'm throwing your name out. I'm voting for you.
Award holders. Yes.
But so, really interesting. One more thing about Coach LeBeau, since you brought him up. He is the one guy that made Troy Polamalu live it enough to protect him. Because not a lot of people know this story. When Antonio Brown got his contract in 2013, Ryan Clark said, "Oh, you're making a huge mistake. And he's going to be a problem." That very day, he comes out and goes after LeBeau.
Really?
Yep. And Troy Polamalu was ready to kick the hell out of him. And Ryan Clark goes over to Troy Polamalu and says, "We can't afford to lose you, but we can afford to lose me for a week in suspension. I'll go kick his ass." And that's basically what happened. That's basically what they tell that story. Troy was that guy. Now, I want to talk about Troy because we have another interesting thing to talk about, and you have no idea where I'm going with this. But Troy Polamalu is the one guy that would have been able to each and every week stop the tush push. And the tush push, and you can't hear this. You can hear this through your speakers, but Dave is shaking his head yes. And he would have been the great tush push defender. And oh my gosh, that was the way he would line up and dive and time those snaps. In fact, I think they banned that. I don't think you're allowed to do that anymore. But
they can, but they can't touch. They can't vault over. They can't use the defender to help them, to assist them in any way.
Okay, he was just diving. Yeah. Okay, so he would have been fine.
Diving clear, you're fine.
He was. Even though he was not Hawaiian, they called him the Flying Hawaiian at first. He was not Hawaiian. But anyways, let's talk about the big tush push debate. People got angry in this meeting. Two teams. They needed 2 more votes to give this up. What can you give me some insight of how this whole thing went down?
Well, it was looking to be passed until Jason Kelsey came in and gave a presentation on it. And he swayed those couple of votes or more to come to the side of it's a legitimate play. It doesn't cause injury, or it hasn't yet, even though that was one of the arguments by the band side, is that because of how the players are really low in the body position and all this, that there's potential of some very serious injuries. It has not yet. It's been safe. and that it should be allowed. I have mixed feelings on it, but it was enough to sway at least 2 voters to go to the other side, because it requires 24 to pass. The ban people got 22. The final vote was 22-10. And as we know, it was Green Bay Packers that put up the ban proposition. And who lost to the Eagles 22-10 in the playoffs? The Green Bay Packers. And they just lost a second time. So I sort of laughed at that. But it's interesting. The Vikings voted to ban it. They were one of the teams that voted to ban it. But it's going to last at least through the 2025 regular season, and we'll see how it goes. Now, in the Eagles' defense, they're saying as long as it's legal, we're going to use it. And by all means, I hope every team uses it. The Eagles completed it, I think, at an 87% percentage. There was one team that completed even more, not in quantity, but in percentage-wise, and that was the Buffalo Bills. They had it like 84, 85% completion on getting the first down on the tush push. But like the Eagles said, well, we can ban it. That's fine. We're still going to get our first down, and we're still going to run a quarterback sneak on that play. And when your quarterback can squat 600 pounds, it's just, saying, hey, he can't be pushed from the backside isn't going to stop him. You need some big, beefy guys up front, and you need linebackers that are fearless coming over the top. But the argument for keeping it was, well, defense, stop it. And we went from, you're old enough to remember, when we ran the ball all the time. The game was about running the football, and we had bell cow backs. We had Earl Campbell, and then Emmitt Smith, and go on through the whole list, all the way up through the mid-90s, Adrian Peterson, etc. We're running the football. That's the way football was played. 3 down or 3 yards and a cloud of dust. Run the ball. Well, they discovered that, hey, if we start throwing out more receivers, we can spread these guys out and we can make completions. Well, in doing that, they drove the defense to change its makeup a little bit. Before, we had monster linebackers. Think Brian Urlacher. He was what, 260 pounds or almost, and he would seal a gap like nobody's business and take somebody's head off in the process.
Ray Lewis.
Yeah, big guys. And they were built to stop the run, and you'd had safeties start to come in the box, Troy Polamalu. You had all different ways of stopping the run. Well, they took ideas from college and they spread it out, and they went 11 personnel, put 3 wide receivers, and they started throwing over the top. Well, then the linebackers changed. They got smaller. They got lighter. Now linebackers 235, right? And can have speed to cover over to the middle and go sideline to sideline. It's not just crashing an A-gap to stop a runner. So that changed. And now we're back into, well, let's start getting bigger again. You're having some backs that are starting to dominate in the league. So let's get bigger again. How do you stop those guys? Well, you got to bring guys up in the box. You need bigger linebackers. Well, when it comes to the tush push, the most effective way, if you're running against a 4-3 or even a 3-4 defense, is the quarterback goes to the side where there's space, where there's a gap. And if you have a small linebacker there, he's not going to stop it, because the quarterback's going to have that 2 steps on him before he gets in and fills the hole. Nor does he have the beef, especially when some of these quarterbacks are as big as linebackers. It does not work. So it's a physics problem. Well, how do you stop that? Well, how did we stop it before? You had the big monster nose tackles of back in the day, be it Jerry Ball, Fat Pat Williams from the Vikings. there's a ton of them. Well, I can think of now Sexy Dexy Lawrence, the Giants. You put those guys in the middle. How easy are they to push? They're not. So you got to change your offensive play. But as long as you got some lighter guy in there, and by light, I mean he weighs 270, 290 instead of 330 or 340, then you're going to sit there and you're going to push them. There's bound to be a gap on one of those two sides. Even if both linebackers step up into the A gaps, you've got the O-line is going to go mano a mano, hat on a hat. And as long as you have somebody that doesn't quite fill that double A gap, and if it's a double A gap, just call an audible and dump it over the top. It's real simple. It's different ways to defeat a problem. And as the NFL goes cyclic, and it's how it approaches offense and then the defense responds, it's coming around to where it was once again, and it'll go all the way around again. But right now, just beat it. And the way to beat it is fat guys in the middle and linebackers up in the gaps, big linebackers.
So if I'm an NFL general manager, I'm using the international portal, and I'm bringing in every sumo wrestler that I can find. Put those guys up front.
On their background, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, there was
right.
a college out of wherever, Miami or someplace that weighed over 400 pounds. He made a team.
Yeah,
he's going to be pushed by Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, no. So my biggest problem with the tush push, and this is the only reason that I'm just sick of watching Philadelphia dominate. But hey, they've only won one. They just won one, and that's it. It's not like they've won 3 or 4. But when the Ravens started doing it with Mark Andrews, I was like, oh no, here we go. And they were doing it, and they don't even need that wrinkle because they have Lamar and they have Henry. But they add that wrinkle. It's like, oh my gosh, some of these teams are going to become unstoppable. But you're absolutely correct. The way to stop it is finding a way to stop it. The Wildcat, everybody had trouble with the Wildcat at first. Then they knew then they figured out how to stop the Wildcat. Nothing's unstoppable.
Right, because everything works for a while. I was telling my fans today during my show that there's still high schools and colleges that'll run a wing T or a version thereof. The wing T's been around over 100 years. It was one of the first offenses ever invented for football. And then you go from the wing T, you go to the T formation, and then the wishbone and a bunch of option type stuff. Why? Because it was running. But each one of those presented a way to defeat it. Once you learned the way to defeat it, it was relatively simple. And then the throwing became more prevalent because once you stop the run every down, why run? You got to get yards, and you got to get obviously more than 10 yards to get a first down. So the games develop, but there's still teams that will go back to it because, hey, you could be playing a team that's been playing an option or playing a pro set or however it is. Then suddenly they go against a team, and I'm mainly in high school, but some in college. And then suddenly they get a wing T and they go, what? How am I supposed to stop this? Because they don't know. Well, I think it's the same way with the tush push. They go, oh, how am I supposed to stop this? And it's just they don't know, or they don't have the personnel. Once they figure it out, it'll become ineffective. It'll be just like any other quarterback sneak, for that matter.
The bottom line,
most of the time, but not all the time. Yeah.
The bottom line of this whole thing is, I think it's sour grapes. I don't think they should ban it. I really don't. They, like you said, and here's the whole thing: just stop it. and they'll go to something else. All right, so one more thing to talk about here. One more thing that came out this week, and I think it's pretty exciting, but I caution a lot of people because have you ever heard of a guy named John Stevens?
Oh, there's what, 5,000 of them in the phone book?
Okay. Yeah, there are. John Stevens was, I believe he was a first-round pick of the Patriots back in 1988. And at the Pro Bowl games, they had beach football. He tore up his knee and never played again. And I think it might have been flag football, but there is a lot of excitement that flag football is going to be in the Los Angeles Olympics. And there's no reason on earth that the NFL would not dominate. And now the NFL players are going to be allowed in here. And I've got to tell you, this is exciting. This is another reason I love the Olympics, but this is going to be my favorite event.
Oh, it'll definitely be mine. For the Summer Olympics, absolutely. But
who?
Roger Goodell introduced it and said the vote was unanimous, 32-0. All the owners said yes. All the teams said yes. And he brought out Justin Jefferson, who is the global representative of flag football for the NFL. And JJ talked about how he always had a dream to get a gold medal. I mean, he's an athlete. Most athletes have some sort of dream about winning a gold medal. But he knew he couldn't because he didn't play a sport that was in the Olympics and wasn't eligible to do it. And he talked about how it is now possible for him to fulfill his dream. And he'll be 29 in 2028 when the Olympics is in LA. Now, the NFL was just as worried about those injuries. Because, hey, the Summer Olympics happens in what, June-ish usually?
Usually July.
July? Okay, July. Well, can you imagine your wide receiver one plays flag football, and suddenly blows up his knee, ACL, MCL, LCL, torn. I'm done for the season. That would be devastating to a fan base. Is it possible to happen? Yeah. Is it likely? We'll see. But the NFL owner said, whoa, to mitigate our risks, we're only going to allow one player per team.
Ah, that is interesting to me. Now, I do have a conspiracy theory here, Dave.
What's that?
My conspiracy theory is this. If the games weren't in Los Angeles in 2028, it's not happening.
You very well could be right.
And that conspiracy theory just happened in the last 3 minutes. But I was thinking about it as you were talking. I'm like, yeah, I don't think they would have done this. When you said 32-0, it made me think that they're promoting America and they're promoting the Olympics in the US, and they're gonna sell a lot of tickets just in the US alone. I mean, who's not gonna want to go see this? And
right.
You don't have to wait every single week. They'll be playing every other day. This is going to be fantastic. Now, is this basically 7-on-7 football? Like there's like one lineman, or?
I believe so. I would have to review the rules for NFL flag football, or for Flag Football of America, I think is the governing organization. But generally when I played it for intramurals in the Air Force, it was, you had one lineman, that was the center, and he was eligible, but it may be everybody, but I don't know. But you can't do things like flag guard and different. They've got their own sets of rules, and the people that belong to the American Flag Football League are saying, whoa, NFL players, just because you think you can come in here and dominate doesn't necessarily mean that's the case, because these players have been playing for a long time. They're generally smaller, they're faster, they're more agile. They've been working on the game, i.e., to keep you from grabbing the flag. I don't know if you remember the old, who was it? Detroit Lions legend. When they asked him, why are you so hard to tackle? And he says, because I played flag football and I didn't want anybody to grab my flag.
Was that Barry Sanders or
Barry Sanders?
Really?
And that's how he ran. If you think about watching Barry Sanders run, that's how he runs.
He swiveled. I mean, he was.
And
they talked about, when you talked about Barry Sanders, you talked about shiftiness, and that's what you need for flag football.
Right. And so I'm going to find it interesting to see the mix of players that actually make Team USA. Is it going to be 100% NFL players, or is it going to be a mix of American Flag Football League players and NFL players? Do I believe Justin Jefferson can play and dominate? Oh, absolutely he could. And
I think Lamar Jackson is should be the poster boy.
Yeah. And then you can take corners on the defensive side, defensive backs as a whole that could go in there and play defense. But it's going to be interesting. I'm fascinated. I'm interested already. And they just announced it.
Let me ask you, you just brought up corners. Let me ask you, you need a traditional, would you need more zone secondary, or would you need more of a cover corner? Because cover corners, you can't be pushing in flag football.
Right.
So a lockdown corner to me does not fit for this.
Like I said, I don't know at that level what they're going to go with. I know, and like I said, I played intramurals in the Air Force, and we played zone. It was easier. I could teach my guys. I was the coach. I could teach them zone easier than I could teach them man on man. And
because you have guys like Joey Porter Jr. that are very good corners, but they're handsy guys.
Right. And handsy in the flag football isn't going to work.
Yeah. You know who else might be the ultimate player here too, is have a guy like Travis Hunter on the team.
Very well could be. Very well could be.
I can't wait. Now, the one last thing that I'm going to talk about here with flag football is there are rumors that Tom Brady wants to come back and play.
Really? I haven't seen these. Tell me about it.
Because they're just basically that it's the one thing, just like you were talking about other players, Justin Jefferson saying it, that's something that Tom Brady has never accomplished. Never had the opportunity to accomplish, and he would want to come back. And it's in America.
Cool. That would be cool.
Yeah, so I mean, I could see something like that too, and it's he'll still be able to pass the ball at age 49 or whatever he is when that happens. But I think that's intriguing. So this is going to be fun, and it's going to put more eyes on it. But you're right, it could go all awry with that one injury, and that's why I brought up John Stevens in 1988.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if I got to find out if Hogan knows who John Stevens is. That's going to be interesting. But this has been a great show, Dave. Thanks so much for hanging out with us today.
Hey, thanks for bringing me on the squad for this season, the 2025 season. It's going to be great.
It's good to have the right kind of purple in here, because the Vikings were the right kind of purple, as far as I'm concerned.
The original purple in the NFL.
Yes. Yeah, there you go. So make sure that you check out Dave on Vikings First and Skol. Dave, do you want to give a quick shout out to your team there?
Hey, today was Two Old Bloggers, which is me and Darren Campbell. Why is it Two Old Bloggers? Because we've been blogging about the Minnesota Vikings since the late 90s, over 2.5 decades apiece and counting. Then we started out with blogs and then went to written stuff and then eventually made our way to video and podcasting. Then I have Tyler Fornes, who will be on today, as you listen to this. The real Forno. He's our local beat writer that's on staff. And he also works for A to Z Sports and writes for them as well. But he is a co-founder of Vikings First and Skol, and he does shows here. He's a draft expert and also loves the Vikings. And then thirdly, we have Sal Spice. Sal Spice does Vikings as a lifestyle. And her shows are quite fun to watch and quite interesting. And that makes up the team of Vikings First and Skol, the base team. And during the offseason, or during the season, we have a post-game show where we bring on our German correspondent, Jonas Stark, and he stays up and we talk about the games live at the 2-minute warning. We go, and that's exactly what we do. We go live at the 2-minute warning. And we watch the end of the game with everybody, and we talk about it right afterwards. It's a blast. We love
that.
This.
That is fantastic. I love it. We have gone back to being international again. We were before. We had, of course, Canada, and we had Australia before. We have our Aussie back. It's not Aussie, it's Aussie. So we have our good friend Mark Davison is back, but make sure you check out Jeff Hartman, Dave Schofield, Jeremy Betts, Andrew Wilbar, the guys that just call themselves the homies, Big G and Tate, and that gang there. If I mention our draft expert, Andrew Wilbar, there's Shannon White. Of course, there's me. There's the coach Kevin Smith, who I just got off of a show with. I know you've been on Coach KT's show as well. Shannon White, Daniel J. We've got a big group here. If I missed anybody, I'm just trying to do it off the top of my head, so I do apologize. But also, check out Foxborough Frenzy. Check out Broad Street LinkedIn. Check out not only Broncos Mile High, not Vikings Mile High, Broncos Mile High, with all those guys that normally make up this show, but check out all of the other shows. You could probably name a few of the guys from the NFC North that we have on here. Bruce and June.
Mm-hmm.
And Bruce and June. Mm-hmm. And there's Pay, who's also on the Homie Show with here on Steel Curtain Network. There are so many great shows. So if we don't have somebody on the panel that represents your team, we do have them here on the network. So make sure you check it all out. We appreciate you. We can't do these shows for you.
Except for one team. We're still waiting. I almost put out every week a wanted ad. There's one team that is not represented on Fans First. So if you know anybody that's willing to be a podcaster for the team from Wisconsin, the Green Bay Packers, let us know. We have an opening available, and we're more than willing to invite you on to listen, see how you do, and join the crowd and join the NFC North and the banner that goes on there. Please.
That's awesome. That's awesome to say that. Yeah, we do have, even if we do have a show and you are listening to this and you have a show that you don't have an affiliation with any network, let us know. Give us a call. I mean, we have other Steelers shows. We have a couple Jaguar shows, and they're very good. They are the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider, a podcast network. We have the Duval Dive. We have very good shows here, and we will take on other shows. Just send us a sample. Go ahead. You can go ahead and address it to me at Steel Curtain Bad, BAD. So what are you pointing to?
Yeah, I'm pointing to you.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. All right, Dave, it's time for me to get on out of here. It's time for you to get on out of here. I really appreciate you. This is fantastic. We're glad that you're on the team.
I'm happy to be here.
And I'm no longer the old guy on the team.
No, I think I probably take that crown now.
Is Jess older than me? I don't know. It doesn't matter. All right. We will talk to you later.
Speaking of Jess,
thank
what
you.
did he say at the end?
Well, he never remembers, but and there's a way that we always get out of here. We have one thing to say to all of you before we're going to say thank you first. We can't do these shows without you. But as always, we've got 2 words for you. Go football. Go football, baby.